Hey guys, welcome back to the Soul Sisters podcast. I'm Alex.
I'm Daniella.
And we are so happy to have you back this week for another episode of
Soul Sisters podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were going to say it together. Just
kidding. I was like, I didn't get that memo. A little heads up would have been nice. But again, we're so happy to have you back with us. If you could just like, subscribe, share, comments, let us get to know you. We would love to hear more about you. Let us know what we can do to better the podcast or what you like so far. Love to hear from you guys. Now I'm going to have Daniella.
I get the privilege of introducing our amazing guest today, our ray of sunshine, our beautiful, amazing Andie is here.
Hi.
So she is the kids pastor at Vital Church here in Orlando, which is a church I attend. So she teaches my little son all the things that he needs to learn about the Bible. She teaches him the right way of doing things when I mess up. But we have Pastor Andie here. She's so sweet. She's so knowledgeable. I mean, for being in your 20s, I'm always astonished by the wisdom that you have. And she is the epitome of joy, like I said. So welcome to the podcast, Andie.
Yay. Nice to meet you. I've been thrilled already with like the 0.3 seconds that I've met you. You're absolutely wonderful.
She's charmed.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yay. Thank you for being here. So what we kind of wanted to talk about for this episode was the dynamics between childhood friendships and adult friendships and how they can be similar and different. And there's so much push when you're a little kid to make friends. And we learn even in school or in church how to make friends, like be a good sharer, be a good listener, like things that are very basic. But we kind of want to talk about how maybe that can overlap into adulthood. So I wanted Andie to kind of come on here and share that because she has so much experience with kids and all the way they think, which is, sometimes we even forget for ourselves, like how we thought as kids, how we process our perspective. And so we want to just talk about that. So I had asked her if she could just kind of share what it means to be a good friend to a kid. Like if she had to explain it to her kiddos at church, what is friendship? How do we be a good friend? And so I thought that would be a great way we can kind of just start this off.
Yeah, I love that so much because I think you're right. I think sometimes we grow up and we forget these like really basic things that we were taught by our kindergarten teacher and like our Sunday school teachers and whoever, even our parents, like when they're talking about making friends in school. But even when you move into adulthood, the basics are the same, right? And so what it boils down to, if I was going to talk to a kid, everybody likes to know that they were picked. That they were somebody's first choice, that somebody thought about them, that somebody cares about them, that somebody loves them. And so if I'm encouraging students to make friends, that's what I want them to be for other people. Like make somebody feel loved. Like if you see somebody who hasn't been included in something, it should be your job to go and include them. If you notice that somebody is really having a hard time sharing, it's your job to encourage them to be a good sharer and to be a good listener. Be the best team player that you possibly can. Pull on other strengths of the people around you to get the job done. The greatest example of that I have, we play a big group game in kids' church every Sunday, and those team dynamics are crazy town all the time, because it's all of these little humans just trying to figure out what they're doing, and they're trying to strategize with one another, and somebody always ends up being a leader and stepping out and saying, well, I know so-and-so is really good at this, and I know somebody else is really good at this. But being that leader doesn't necessarily make you the best friend on the team, because that person can very quickly turn into aggressive and mean and intense, right? Bossy, right? So my job is to remind them to be the best team player that you can, to be as kind as you possibly can, to be as loving and as gentle as you possibly can. And if somebody does hurt your feelings, it's okay to tell them, hey, that really hurt my feelings. If you're upset about something, it's okay to take a minute and step away. Right? So to have those big feelings and then say, hey, that didn't feel good. And then let them apologize to you. So these are all like basic skills, like social skills that we instill in kids all the time, but then somehow forget or throw to the wayside when we're grown-ups, or we overcomplicate them when they're really not that hard. It all comes back to the same 3-4 things.
Yep.
That's so true. That's so true. Because we feel that it's like, those are basics. Like, we all can do those things. But to find a person that can do those basic 3 or 4 things that you just mentioned really well in an adult friendship is amazing. Yeah. That's best friend quality right there.
Yes.
And that's so important.
And you feel a difference like right away when you're talking to a person like that.
Yes.
Like, there's just a warmth and like a kindness, a trust that builds very quickly and easily.
Totally.
So, yeah.
Totally. How have you seen in your own life, like, the friends you made as a kid and the friends you make now as an adult? How has that kind of changed, or what are the friend dynamics you've had in your life?
Yeah. So it's interesting to talk about like childhood friends, because I don't have any like super long-term childhood friends that I still talk to and like that I'm still close with. We moved the summer between 5th and 6th grade, and like I didn't have a phone. Nobody was on Facebook or Instagram. So like I don't have contact with like any of those people. Yeah. But I like to describe friends from school or friends from early childhood is like friends of convenience, because these are people that I'm seeing every single day at school, that I'm seeing every single weekend at church, or multiple times a week at church, because my parents were the pastors, so we were there all the time. So I'm like, so these are friends of convenience, whereas now as an adult, you have to be so intentional, and it's different, and it's really, these are friends of inconvenience that I'm like putting in the work. Like I want to be your friend, and so I'm going to make time to be your friend. And it actually was like, that's like one of the most freeing things my therapist ever said to me, was like, because I always had this fear of like, man, I like them more than they like me. Like, I really want to hang out with this person, but they don't actually want to hang out with me.
I feel like that all the time.
They're just saying yes to be nice. And my sweet, amazing therapist was like, Andie, grown-ups don't do that. Like, if they don't want to be your friend, they're just not going to be your friend. They're too busy. So they're not going to make time for you. So the people that make time for you are genuinely interested in being a part of your life. So don't allow this, like, thought, this lie to, like, deter you from making friends and putting yourself out there. So I'm so glad you said that to me, because I feel that way all the time.
Good.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I've always felt like that. I'm always like, they're just trying to be nice.
Yeah.
You know, just trying to be diplomatic. They don't want to hurt my feelings. But yeah, no. And I love what you said about making someone feel like you're their first pick.
Yeah.
Like,
so
I remember
sweet.
growing up and how isolating and just defeating that felt when, you know, you're just like the last one to get picked on the team. And I always was, because I was like a little bigger, and, you know, no, I had no kind of sportsman in me.
Same.
But
I'm an athlete. Not
like,
at all.
I literally sprint for fun. But that really is such an amazing feeling when someone, and Daniela is so much better at it than me, I'm not gonna lie. She's always like, hey, come on, let's go have, you know, coffee together, let's go get something to eat. And I've always felt like your first pick, and it was so nice. I hope you know you're mine too, but I know I need to get
You're
better
my first
at
pick,
it.
always.
But like, yeah, it's really important to let that person know that you are thinking about them for sure.
That's sweet.
I feel like when I was younger, there was this group of like 4 or 5 girls that were pretty close in like my grade, and that they were always ended up in the same class and whatever. And I remember one year I was in their class and I got in with this group, and I was like, yes, I've made it. Like, this is it. I have friends. You know what I mean? I was so excited. But and me and this one girl got really, really close really fast. And she was one of the only friends that my parents let come over to the house and like come and hang out at home and whatever. But then one day I came to school and she was like, you're not my best friend anymore. This other girl is. And I was like, I was crushed. I was like, oh no. Oof. Right? I remember I went home and I like cried and sobbed. And my mom was like, you know, she's allowed to have 2 best friends. And even as a kid, I was like, Mom, that doesn't make any sense, because that means that somebody isn't the best. Right? But like I feel like we constantly experience that feeling as adults and don't know, like, where to put that energy. Like, we feel this, like, sense of rejection all the time, like, in every, like, at work, at school, no matter, like, in our relationships and our friendships, and we just don't know where to put that. You know what I mean? We don't know how to process any of that. But, like all of that starts when we're really young. You know what I mean?
It's so true. That innate fear of like, oh no, they're not going to want me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so true. Oh my gosh. Well, let's How did you feel, Alex? Like, were the friend dynamics when you were a kid? Like, what kind of friends?
So it was it's been an ongoing difficult process for me because I've always been very shy, and obviously, well, I don't know if this is also for, American households, but with Hispanic households, it's go make friends, talk to somebody. And I wasn't that kind of person. I was always the one that was befriended. I was not the befriendor. So, I had to have, I was never like, I was always a follower in the friendship. So my best friend in elementary school, she came to me, she started talking to me. She started talking to me, and she did always make me feel included because we were both kind of outcasts together. We were both heavier set. We kind of had our own little clique. It was us against everyone else. Yeah, so we just kind of hung out together, and it was all the time. Like, we would go to school, we would hang out at school. Then on the weekends, I would go sleep over at her house, even though, like, sleepovers were absolutely traumatic for me every time. Only because I'm, like, one of those that, like, I'm not in my own house. I can't sleep. But, we'd still hang out and do all that together. And it was just, she was the ride or die at the time. And it's so crazy now that, honestly, we don't even really, every so often, we do. It's like, hey, how are you doing? But it's almost like a formality, and that's kind of sad. Like, I kind of do need to make a little more effort, at least, to
reconnect with her.
Right. Just to be like a thoughtful human.
Yeah.
Because she poured so much into my life and me into hers, that to just kind of, forget that is really crappy on my part.
But that's what happens. I think that's totally the norm, is like, I don't keep in touch with any of my childhood friends. Like, I barely keep in touch with any of my, like, high school or college friends. Like, I feel like it just almost happens naturally where we kind of just phase out of friends, which does suck. Yeah,
you are in a different mindset from a child to a preteen to a teen to a young adult. You do have different shifts in mentality.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where one shifts in one direction, another one shifts in another. And you just kind of lose, that rhythm you have together.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's okay also to just be thankful for what she did pour into your life and be thankful for that season, and then use it in the next, but recognize that she just doesn't fit into this next one, and like that's totally normal.
And that's the guilt I have.
Yeah,
that's the part I have trouble processing, is that it's okay that this person has drifted out,
and it's also okay to grieve that. It's okay to be sad about it and grieve it and feel it like a loss, because it is, like, this person was important to you, right? But what was poured into you is still valuable in the next season, even if that person doesn't fit into it anymore.
Right.
That's so good. Yeah, that's true, because there are so many friendships that die.
Yeah.
There's literally, we have our own little graveyards of friends. Not to be morbid. But it's true, like, we make great friends, but then we take along what you said. We take that value with us, those things we learned, those sweet memories we had with them, and we just keep trekking along with the next season, the next people. And we kind of talked a little bit about, like, timing, how God kind of puts people in our life at, like, the right time. Like, honestly, meeting her was, like, totally on purpose.
The whole thing was divine timing.
Divine timing.
Whole thing.
Like, my college roommates is another, like, divine timing, where we had all, like, transferred from other schools to Southeastern and Lakeland, and we all got put in the same dorm, I think on purpose, because we were all transfers, and they put us all together. But honestly, the four of us love each other and still are connected. So that was another, probably the only other divine friendship connection I think that I had, where we've all, like, been, like, bridesmaids in each other's wedding. And the last one is coming up in, like, a week. I'm so excited. She's the last one, and we're finally we're all gonna have our little moment together again as friends, kind of reunion. So that's super fun. But yeah, like, there's, like, those key moments where you're just like, that was amazing. Like, that could not have been planned any better. Like, this person is exactly who I needed.
Yeah.
And which I think is really unique for our relationship, because we are high school friends.
Yeah.
And but it became so much deeper that we have been able to sustain it throughout our life.
I'm kind of sorry.
I'm like so impressed with us.
Yeah, like I'm kind of impressed with myself that I've kept it going so long, because sometimes I can really be not great. Not great. And so I'm really happy that I've been able to keep you around. You're my favorite.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up friendships, but I think when we see the value in it and we're like, I feel like at one point we had to decide, that's it, like this is it. Like, this is going to happen forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you find that person and you're just like, that's it. This is what we're going to be for the rest of our lives. Kind of a thing.
The best friends forever.
Yeah, literally. So do you have anybody like that a friend that you feel like has either helped you in a pivotal moment in life, or just you're like, this is my ride or die?
Yeah. Who is your 100%. Bestie?
It's so interesting because those friends for me were not high school friends.
Yeah.
Not that my high school friends weren't great, they're fantastic, but like I'm really not connected with any of them either. So but like all of those have happened in adulthood, like those divine timing moments. Like I have a few people like that. My friend Julianne, she's like the best ever. And I met her in like spring 2021, so like really not even that long ago. But like I met her at exactly the right time. I wasn't supposed to be at this event that I ended up going to, and like I had said no a million times, but then like last minute I decided to go, and she was working the event and whatever, and we were both in like the same exact moment in our deconstruction of faith, actually, which is like really tough. And I had nobody. Like I was living abroad during COVID, so when I came home, none of my friends were still there. It was still mid-COVID, so like I couldn't go out anywhere. I wasn't going to church. I wasn't like nothing, and so it like just kind of spiraled into a bunch of other things. But Julianne was like the first friend that that like really just saw that and connected with me, and her and I have very like almost parallel life experience. Wow. So it's like very similar life, very similar family dynamics, very similar moment in time that we met each other, and so the Lord just used that, and now she's like literally the closest person in my life. It's like so crazy.
So awesome.
And I think that my friend Kat is another one like that. I again was not supposed to be there the night at church that I met her and whatever. And she tells the story, and she says, like, she saw me at the back of the room, and she was like, I'm going to be friends with that girl.
Oh, I love it.
And I, like, when I tell the story, I, like, might get a little emotional. But, like, when I tell the story, it's really sweet because she was the first person at Vital that picked me. Oh. That was like, no, I like her. I want to be her friend. Oh. You know, everybody on staff was like super nice and like went out of their way to be kind to me and went out of their way to be my friend. But like, she was the first one. Exactly. Yes. She was the first one that didn't have to see me, that didn't have to spend time with me. There was no obligation. She was just like, no, I want to be her friend. And the Lord has like really used that friendship too, and like it's so special.
It's amazing how you can feel that when you can
sweetest.
Feel that intention coming from.
Yeah.
Totally.
From a person. It makes all the difference.
Because it goes back to that picking where you're like, I want to feel seen, I want to feel wanted.
Yep.
And it's so key because it taps into that deep inner fear we have that doesn't really leave, I don't think, ever.
Yeah.
So that's so important. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. She literally asked one question and we talked like for hours. Like, we just like sat there. I told her like my whole life story. It was crazy.
I love that.
Sweetest. My sister, so Kat, my sister, right? I'm assuming that's the Kat you're talking about. Yeah. She has such a tender heart. Yeah. She has such a like kind. I don't know. I don't even know how to describe her heart. It's so beautiful, and when she loves you, she loves you 100%. And she is always checking on you and supporting. So my sister is so sweet in that way. Yeah. I love that you guys are like such close friends. I know. She's the best. She's so sweet. I wonder where she learned all her cool stuff from. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, she's so her own person. I learned so much from my sister. Like, I love that
you guys have very unique, different personalities.
I feel like we're similar, but very ourselves in our own way. Like, I love that she is kind of that more I will choose my own path type of way that I really love about her. Like, she'll choose an unconventional path that maybe our family or our parents or whatever would not maybe choose for her or think is best. And she is like, well, this is what I want to do. And this is what I feel I need to do. Yeah. And when she has that conviction in her, there's nothing you can do to stop that girl.
Yeah, for real.
Like, she is like, boom.
Yeah.
So I learn a lot from my little sister, even though she's a lot younger than me. I think she's a trailblazer.
For real. For real.
So, were there any, I love that we talked about those key basic traits. Can we go over them again?
Yeah.
You had mentioned being picked. So I love
Yeah.
that. What was that? What were the other
Yeah, so
ones
like
that you
feeling
said?
chosen, like somebody picked me, right? And I just to like circle back real quick on that one, I don't even think it has to be like you meet somebody and you're like, this is my number one person for the rest
Right.
of my life. It doesn't even have to be like I was picked first, whatever, but just like that acceptance, like, oh, I was picked, I was chosen, I'm a part of the team. You want to spend time with me. That's a good feeling. Makes people feel good. So feeling chosen, being a good listener, a good team player, sharing, and then fronting kindness always.
That's so good. And I feel like as adults, how can we translate that over into like how can we as adults maybe do this better in terms of like an adult version of those
Yeah.
traits?
So we were kind of talking about this earlier, but like it's not that the traits themselves are different, but there's a new depth to them, and like and you really do have to hone them and practice and like find places that you're not good at, because it's hard to be good at everything all the time, right? But to fill in those gaps for yourself. So it's the same basis, it's the same principles, but there's a new depth to it. So sharing for like you and I as grown-ups is not going to be like you have a Lego that I want and I have a ball that you want and we're going to share and play together, right? But it's also like I also love that Daniela's an ideas person. So like she'll share an idea and somebody else can say, no way, here's the resources to make that happen. Or I know this person, or I've shared ideas with Daniela and she's like, no way, I have this connection and this connection and this connection. Here's what I have to offer you, right? So like sharing this like wealth of knowledge and connections that you've accumulated to just bring that person closer in and to say, hey, I believe in you so much that like here's what I'm willing to share with you in order to see you succeed. Right? And that doesn't have to be like with a work related thing. That can literally just be like you as a person. Somebody saying, I'm willing to share my resource of time. I'm willing to share like I'm not that great of a cook, but like a lot of my friends are really really good at cooking. And so, hey, come over and I'll show you how to make this super easy thing for dinner. You can just like make it at home whenever. Thank you so much. Thank you for saving my life. You know what I mean? Like just this like wealth of knowledge that you have that somebody else doesn't. And that kind of sharing is so much more exciting, because then the other person feels like, oh man, they thought of me.
Right.
Yeah. Like there's a special kind of intentionality there.
Yeah.
And like being a good listener or a good team player, like those are basic skills that everybody should know how to do. My mom and I talk about this all the time, but the number one reason that people get fired is not because they don't perform well at their job. It's because they can't get along well with their coworkers.
That is so
and the
true.
interpersonal relationships don't work well. That's why people lose their jobs, right? So if you cannot get along with people, if you don't know how to make other people feel like they're in your circle of influence, feel like they're a part of something, if you're not able to be a good team player, it's going to cause domino effects in your life, in your relationships, and in work, and in other circles, right? So learning that your opinion doesn't have to be the first one heard in the room, that's a hard one for me, because I just like have a lot of things to say all the time, you know what I mean? And I'm loud and whatever and very opinionated, and so it's easy for me to just like jump in when somebody says something and just start going, right? But that learning curve of like, man, I don't have to be the first person to respond, I don't have to be the loudest person to say something, and if I say it and they don't agree with me, my life isn't over.
Exactly.
Right? Like I can still get along with this person if we think differently. And learning to compromise not compromise, but willing to understand, I guess, what things are worth compromising for and what things cross a boundary for you.
Right.
So it's important to protect those boundaries and your principles and like these like core values you have, but really outside of that, you should be willing to compromise a few things in order to have these deep relationships in your life, because not everybody is going to check off every single box, every single opinion all the time.
Right.
And then just being a good listener, being an active listener, right? Asking good questions to the people that you want to get to know better, and remembering details so you can check up later. So it's those same principles, but there's a new depth to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that you said that, because it's true. It's like little kids, like you were saying, we were talking earlier before the show, it's like little kids will just be like, hey, you want to play? Or you want to do this? Or they're just like, they don't care if you say no, kind of.
Right.
There's a little bit of a fearlessness there.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes away as we get older. We become nervous. We become scared. We're like, what is that person going to think? What are they judging by my clothes? Are they judging me by my this or my that or my status or my whatever? That kind of goes away. But on the flip side of that, as we get older, we have this wonderful thing called self-awareness, or at least we should.
Yes.
And we kind of have more of an idea of who we are and where our values lie, how we are valuable, and how we can offer something to someone else.
Yes.
And I think that's the good flip side, is maybe we can have a little more fearlessness like little kids have. Yeah. But also bring that into
finding the balance. It's just all about finding the balance.
Yeah, finding a good balance when it comes to making friends, because it is super hard to make good friends as adults. Yeah. It's tricky to be like present and be like, okay, I'm going to put myself out here and like try to pursue something new, which can be really, really hard. Yeah. When we get into our own comfort zones and our own way of like living and going. And so I love that you said that, because sometimes we can even forget, like, what do we even want in friends? You know, what's even important to us when we have friends? And sometimes we're like, I just want to have fun with them, which is great. And I think that's very key to friendships, because me and my sister talk about this all the time. It's like, what is that friendship chemistry? Because I feel like there needs to be chemistry when you meet somebody. It can't just be like, oh, cool hat, you want to be friends? Like, that's how it starts when you're a kid. It's like, oh, cool hat, cool hat, let's be friends. But when you're a grown up, you're like, I need substance. I need like something like real. The depth. Yeah. So that it's just, so I don't know. That chemistry, I think, is so important to find. And me and my sister were talking about it. We're like, I think funness, like being a fun person, is definitely, at least for her and I, an aspect of something we desire in our friendships, in our. But it doesn't need to be everything. So I love that you said that, you know, these basics that we maybe forget as we get older.
And being fun is going to be so different person to person.
Exactly.
Like, what I think having fun is different than what Alex thinks is having fun and whatever, right? So it's like, I feel like we only talk about this in dating relationships, but like that compatibility, like either it clicks or it doesn't.
It really is a thing in platonic and romantic relationships. There is a compatibility factor that you have to take into consideration, because if a relationship with a person who is just here they can impart things, but to me, if they're not fun either, what do you have, a teacher? That's a teacher role at that point. So, but from person to person, it's always going to be different.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to have fun sitting in silence for hours on end. I'm just going to be so real. Like, that's not fun for me. But for somebody who's, like, introverted and has, like, had the longest week of their life and just wants to see their friend and have that quality time, like, a quietness together while they're watching a movie is going to be perfectly sustainable, perfectly fun. That can't be the only thing we ever do, or I'm not having a good time. Right. Like, if that's the only thing we're ever doing, I'm losing it. Like,
are you a 7?
Yeah.
Enneagram. We're talking about Enneagram personalities.
Okay, I was like, what am I? I'm a 3. I don't know.
No, you're supposedly you're a 9. I don't know. We need to
that was
it.
We'll do
I'm
it.
a 9. I'm a 9 for sure.
Do it and psychoanalyze ourselves.
She's like,
I see it.
Dang, I'm so obvious.
I think I am too. Like, even like we were talking about like how I like avoid bad feelings. Like that's a very now we've like.
Is that a very 9 thing to do?
It's a very 7 thing to do. Like anything sad or negative in any way, we're like not happening. It's not real. It's just not real. Yeah.
But 7s are the party. They're the life of the party. 7s are fun. Like that's great. I love that you're a 7. That's so fun. You might need, you're going to need a fun husband. Don't settle for anyone that's like, I'm fun sometimes. You're going to.
No, I couldn't. I would get so bored. Like even like with friends, I have to like constantly like not check out when I'm bored, because like, yes, we click. And me being bored temporarily does not mean that you're not supposed to be my friend, right? Yeah. But sometimes, because I'm like, go, go, go all the time and trying to look for the next fun thing and whatever, sometimes it's harder for me to be that, to have that real intentionality and be like, no, I don't care if I'm not having the best time ever. I like this person and I want to be their friend. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that intentionality is, like, what I have to work on constantly, like, remind myself of. But if I, like, married somebody that was boring.
You're like, no.
Even 50% of the time.
You're like not
I think
having
I
it.
would just lose it.
Well, you wouldn't be married, is what it is.
Right,
No.
exactly. I just
No.
don't
It's
think
just
it
not
would
gonna
work.
Yeah.
happen.
Exploring.
And that changes throughout your life too. Kind of like how
Yeah.
you're saying fun is different for everybody.
Yeah.
I think fun is different in every decade of your life. Like
Absolutely.
fun in your 20s is different than fun in your 30s. Is fun in different in your 40s.
It definitely
Like,
changes.
My sister sent me the funniest video yesterday of it's like plaque reading in different ages. You know, like plaques, like historical plaques.
Yeah.
Like in your 20s, she just like walks past the plaque. In your 30s, you like glance at it. In your 40s, she's like reading it. In her 50s, she's like, oh my gosh, guys, come look, come read the plaque. Like, like
I'm the 50-year-old in that situation. Like when we go to a museum, I'm like making everybody stop. Did
read
you
it.
guys know this about George Washington? Like whatever. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it's so funny. My sister's like, show this to mom. I'm like, okay.
Oh my gosh, that's
My mom loves
totally
it.
your mom.
My mom loves plaques. My mom saw it and she laughed. She's like, yes, that's so me. She's like, I've always been a 50-year-old then because
Yeah.
I always love.
That's me. I feel like your mom and I are very similar.
Oh,
Every time I talk to
yeah.
her, I'm like, this is me in 50 years.
Yes.
I love her.
Yes,
You get a
she's
glimpse
also,
into your future
She's
self.
the life of the party, but she's married to an introvert. So, I mean, my dad's a very social introvert. He's not a
Yeah.
typical introvert, but
But also there has to be balance.
Yes,
To
exactly.
like, could you imagine your family if both of them were like her, like all the
no.
time? Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
No,
Hard no.
immediately
Like
no.
scary.
Yeah, too much. But that's why, yeah, you're right. We need the different dynamics. And
Yeah.
the different, it's all balance.
It's
guys.
all balance.
It's the harmony, the circle of life. I don't know.
But even then, like, there's a difference between balance and bored.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so he's still social. He still wants to do things with her.
Yeah.
They do all kinds
They
of
go on
stuff
fun
together.
trips.
Yeah. Right. And so, like, that's her fun tank.
Mm-hmm.
And she also is somebody that has many people in her life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like there's something missing that he then filled the
Yes.
gap, which
Yes.
I will preach this on blue in the face. Like a romantic relationship is not there to fill a void in your life.
Yes.
It is in addition to the complete self that you already are,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And so she's a great example of that. Like she has all of these people in her life that she spends
Mm-hmm.
time with, that she builds these relationships with. She's very fulfilled in her job. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? She has purpose outside of this other person, and then they come together and they're very well balanced. You know what I
Yes,
mean? And they
that's
can have fun
so
together.
true. Which is interesting because they met very young. Obviously, maybe this is a little too much for our viewers because they don't know my parents at all. But my parents are amazing people, first of all.
Yeah.
But my dad was like 19 when they had me or something, 19 or 20. So my parents got married super young, but yet they were able to find that fulfillment in other things. Like they were able to grow
Yeah.
other than just them two, which I think is really
Right.
sweet that you
Yeah.
said that because that's true. It's
Yeah.
very true. That's true.
She's so insightful.
Yes, and
I don't think I was this insightful at that
That's what I'm
age.
telling you.
I
She
was
has so
like,
much
I was
wisdom.
oh,
It's
I'm
the
an
trauma.
old soul.
It's the trauma.
It is the trauma, isn't it? The trauma.
trauma.
People are like, oh, they're not. No, it's the trauma. It's not the old.
We
It's
saw-
okay though.
It's okay.
All better now.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait till you turn 30 and it's all gonna bubble up again.
Oh my
No, I don't want
gosh.
to be sad. No, but we
Wow.
talked about this.
Yeah.
We were like in your 30s, like something kind of happens and stuff starts bubbling up. And
you
you're
start
like,
realizing certain things.
Yeah.
The
Unless-
wheels start turning, but
maybe
it's
we're
not.
just slow learners or something. I mean,
I
she already
don't.
figured
Clearly,
it out.
she has it.
I also just think like this is about to make you guys feel so old. I'm really sorry. I don't mean it this
but
way.
we
No,
are
we-
old.
oh, yeah.
I'm about to be 35.
I don't see it that way at all, but I just think like I was even given different resources sooner
Yes.
than you were.
No, I
right?
agree.
So the reason it like you're in your 30s and I'm in my 20s is because we got the resources at the same time, but I was 20 and you were 30, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like I had access to a therapist when I was 20 because like
It became
we
normal.
were we
Yeah.
were talking about it. My parents supported it. It was covered by our health insurance. Like so there's all
Yeah.
these other things that like I have access to younger that like other people just
I mean,
didn't. So
therapy for us was stigmatized. Every time you heard about it, when they're going to therapy, what's wrong with them?
yeah.
I feel like it's not 100% normalized yet, but it's
Yeah.
getting there.
I was gonna say
which
it was
I
still
love.
like that when I was young.
Yeah.
But by the time that I like started and really needed it, even though like it's still stigmatized obviously a little bit, yeah, like it's
Yeah.
still there, we're getting better. By the time that I really needed it and was looking for it, my family at least was like supportive of that and helped me figure it out. Whereas like previously I don't know if many people would have felt comfortable going to their parents and saying, like, I need a therapist. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely not.
So
Absolutely
it is the
not.
trauma, but it's also just access to resources.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. And actually, I've heard that there's friendship therapy. So, like, if her and I got in
We
a
should
little
go to a
fight,
session. We should go to a session,
we
though.
can have
like,
a
just for
friendship
fun.
therapy.
No. Better idea. Bring the therapist in here, do an episode with her.
I'm scared of what's going to come out.
She's like, you shouldn't be friends. You guys are
No, a
Wow,
good therapist would
very
never say anything like
incompatible.
that. But she'll be like, Alex, what do you think about this? And you're going to be like, nah. And then I'm going to be like, ah. And then
The
this whole
ugly
thing
cry.
gets shut down.
The ugly cry.
No, therapy is awesome. I am such a proponent of so my sweet friend Julie is the one who kind of introduced me to the idea of therapy because I never really I didn't really know anybody that had been to therapy.
Yeah.
And she was going, oh, it's okay if I say that? Oh man, maybe I shouldn't even say that. But maybe I think she'll be okay with me saying that. But she's like, oh, you should try going to a therapist, like specifically when I was dealing with some stuff maritally. And it was a game changer for me. Like, honestly, I'm going to say it saved my marriage, other than God himself, who was 100% involved in that as well.
Yeah.
But it was a great resource and tool to help. So I encourage anybody that's going through anything, if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling like I'm having a hard time even keeping a friend or having friendships or having any relationship, I would go to a therapist and just let it out.
Yep.
Because they're so good at, I'm telling you, therapists are interpreters of our feelings. That's just how I'm going to call it from now on, because they are able to, like, literally my therapist I would be like, blah, 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 this is how I feel. He'll be like, so what I'm hearing you say is this? And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Like, he'd reword it and he'd say, so this is what you're feeling. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. And it's just like, I didn't even know that that's what I was saying until he kind of like, interpreted it, changed the wording, and I was like 100%. So I love it, and I think everyone needs it.
Yeah, and it helps build that self-awareness that we were talking about earlier. So that line between being self-conscious and being self-aware is like really, really thin, and it gets thinner the older you get, because you like being self-aware makes you feel self-conscious. Like, man, I'm very aware of how much space I'm taking up in this room right now, or how much space I'm taking up in this conversation.
I'm glad you made
or
the
whatever.
distinction, because sometimes people get self-awareness
Yeah.
and self-consciousness confused.
Yeah.
And so what I think is self-awareness is actually me being self-conscious.
Right.
A
Yeah.
lot. Like, I'm very happy you went there, because it makes sense. It makes sense. Sometimes you get so self-aware that you get to self-consciousness.
Right, exactly. But having somebody on the outside, like a therapist, or like even your parents, right? Somebody that's like so far removed from these relationships that they can just say like, ooh, what about this other thing? You know what I mean?
They're like, wait a minute, you
Yeah.
crossed this line. No, that's not true. You're
Right.
not, X, Y, and Z. You've gone too far with that
Yeah,
thought process.
right.
They can
Right,
keep
right.
you in check.
And then
Very
it makes
cool.
you a healthier person. You bring more to the table, and then you're not afraid to put yourself out there in friendships because you recognize what you bring to the table, like what
Yep.
we were saying earlier.
And we were talking about this earlier in another episode, was that I feel like as we've gotten older, we've started to really sift out what our true giftings and who we really are, almost our identity is. You start to form it better as you get older. And we were talking about like, yeah, we actually kind of love being in our 30s because we've seen a lot of change and a lot of like, we've kind of gone past a lot of insecurities or a lot of whatever, and we're starting to see what we bring to the table. If a concentrated form of Daniella is this, or a concentrated down to the root core of Alex, this is what she is, and I think that's so valuable to know.
Right.
And then to be like, this is what I can bring,
Yeah.
And then
Nice.
together we make something even better.
It's like, come
Yeah.
join
Like
me.
a peanut butter and jelly
Let's see,
sandwich. Make something even
Right.
tastier, I'm peanut and you're jelly.
Get this.
I call my husband the café. He's the coffee to my milk. He's like, we're coffee and milk. I know, because he's literally brown and I'm white. And together we make a delicious coffee.
My husband is the pain to my butt.
Oh.
Shots
Fight,
fired.
fight,
No,
fight.
I'm proud of for this one.
So you have to find your little coffee to your little milk. And he's like, nah, I'm good. I'm living my life.
Yeah.
Chillin'.
I'm living my life. Yeah, don't rush into anything, please.
No,
Enjoy yourself. You're doing so
You're
great.
a beautiful
She's-
personality.
She's awesome, and she's such a great kids pastor, and she's just a light in our little church, in our little lives. I love that you and my sister are such close friends. That
Yeah.
makes me so happy.
Her friendship, and like, well, I'm also good friends with her husband too, so like the whole gang, you know what I mean? But their friendship has like really been so helpful. I think in just like, okay, so we don't have to go into all the trauma, but I did experience a lot of rejection like as a kid that was like very formative to like the rest of my life, and like have been working to heal that part of myself and like to walk that back and to tear down some of those lies that I've like really have been fundamental in my whole thought process since I was a kid. But like Kat and Daniel have been so instrumental in helping me recognize that like not every person is the person who hurt me. And or the people who hurt me, and like the Lord so specifically used Kat and Daniel to do that. Like I can like I literally could like name you times that like specifically they did things that completely like tore down every single lie that I've like had believed
Would you
previously.
like to become a therapist?
I know.
Like, would you? Because I'm like, oh my, like every other like it's a eureka moment, and I'm just like, how at how old?
23.
Wow. Dang.
I was up to nonsense at 23.
Yeah, 23
Well, I'm still
was,
up to nonsense. Like
23 was trying
That's
to
good. That's good.
drown
I'm
things
glad, I'm glad
out.
to hear that, actually. I know. That's so good.
Yeah.
What do you think specifically that they poured into your life caused you to get to those realizations or revelations?
Yeah. So I do think it was like knowing that like I was her first picked friend.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, like she was my first friend that picked me, sorry. And I didn't know that she thought that until like way after, like we were telling the story one time to like a mutual friend of ours, because everybody just started seeing us together all the time, and they were like, what happened? You know what I mean? So we were telling the story one time, and she said, like, I just saw her and I was like, no, I need to get to know that person. I want to be friends with her. And like as soon as she did, it like totally melted like every single part of me.
Aww.
Because it immediately, like there wasn't even room for me to think like, man, I'm more invested than she is. I like her more than she likes me, or I'm like I have to be the one to start conversations or whatever. And her and Daniel are both really good at initiating plans and checking in on people without any hesitation.
Yeah.
Like they're always going to ask if I want to come. They're always going to invite me. They're always going to go out of their way. There have been multiple times that I like text Kat and I'm like, hey, can you pray for me? Just having like an off day. And she'll respond right away like, this is what we're making for dinner. Just come over. Like, and so to have these people that are so strategic, but not in a gross way. Like, they're just doing it because they love me and they care about me and they want me to be a part of their life.
Yes.
Is really cool. And so it's, like, moments like that I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I needed. Like, it's, like, very healing.
I love to hear that.
Yeah.
I love
She's
hearing
so
that.
proud. Look at her face. She's so proud.
I just
right
love
now.
it because, yeah, it's my sister.
I know,
I'm so
I know,
proud of
I
her
know.
being...
But you are literally beaming. It's cute. It's really cute, yeah.
Because I just love that you guys together have created this beautiful friendship because I know she loves you so much. Like, I love that you guys are friends and you guys are, like, just pouring into each other and growing together, and that it was such an impactful thing. Like, even in such a short amount of time.
Yeah. That's the other thing, too, is, like, she's so kind that when she does bring up something that could be considered criticism or could be considered hurtful, what it sounds like is like, man, she just really wants the best for me. Like, she really wants me to grow as a person. She really wants me to be the best version of myself. And like, and she's interested in seeing that version of me too. Like, she's willing to like wait it out until I get it together. Like, she's gonna be there like through the process.
Yeah.
So when stuff does come up that could have been like considered criticism, it just comes out in such a kind way that all you hear is like, she wants the best for me, because she does. Like, that really is just who she is. So that's been really nice too.
That is so awesome. I love that. It's just so beautiful. We've been sharing this whole time, like, friendships are so important in our lives. They are so needed, and we can't live without them.
That's right.
And we go on so long without them sometimes, and then it's like, no. And then we go back to our friends and we're like, wow, why did I ever go so long without you? Like,
why did it
why
take this
did
long to
we,
reconnect?
Like, all of that. So I just want to encourage everybody that's listening, remember the basics of your childhood friendship skills. These are so important. Let's be good listeners. Let's be kind. Let's be good team players. Let's be, what was the other one? Let's choose.
Let's share.
Let's share. I love that. Let's just invest in other people's lives. And I think you're going to be rewarded no matter what. Like the return of that is beautiful no matter what. So I thank you so much, Andie, for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
You've been so
fun.
awesome.
This has been
Goodness.
so fun.
She'll be a
love it.
frequent flyer on here
Yes,
for
you
sure.
are an official soul sister.
Yeah.
And we love you so much. Thank you for being here. And again, if you loved what you heard, please share, subscribe, like, comment, blah, 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 all the things. You know what to do.
Yeah, you youngins out there doing all that social
yeah.
media stuff. Do
And
it.
share this with your friends. Share this with your best friend. Share this with people that maybe you haven't talked to in a while, and just remind them that they are important to you and that you love them.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for watching and listening, and we hope to see you for our next episode.
Yep.
Bye.
Friends, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Soul Sisters podcast.
Our heart is to bring this encouraging content to you, and we ask that you join us by following or subscribing wherever you're listening from.
And also, share this with a friend who would enjoy it.
We love you, and we'll see you again next week for a new episode. Besitos!